when I was in high school, my friends and I had a book club together. We used to read about philosophy, about the world, about the meaning of life, and all that stuff. And I remember one book that really caught my attention was Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. So in this book, Siddhartha leaves his home in the pursuit of enlightenment. And I thought, what an interesting concept, enlightenment. The understanding of life, the understanding of the universe, the conquest of oneself. And that's when I decided to pursue it. I decided to pursue enlightenment after I read that book. And to be honest, I didn't really know what it meant. I just knew that it was going to be one of those things that once you achieved it, you're going to know, just like love. Around the same time, I left home because I was tired to talk about my friends about life. I want to experience life by myself. So what I did is I immigrated to the United States. I did photography for a while because I wanted to use photography as a vehicle for me to travel around the world. And after a couple of years of focus, my entire energy in photography, I felt exhausted. I felt like I focused too much on work and kind of like left aside my spiritual path. And so what I decided to do was take a break. And at the time, I thought about something specific. I thought about going back to Mexico and eat peyote. So peyote, it's this little cactus that you can find in the desert. And the natives in North Mexico, in the desert in North Mexico, have used it for rituals, for spiritual practices for thousands of years. And they believe that it can help you like go to a higher plane in consciousness. So you can get, through visions, a better understanding of yourself and the universe. So then I'm going to go to Mexico and try to understand the universe better. So I went to Mexico, and we set up a tent in the middle of the desert. And then each one of us had to walk through the desert to find our own peyote. It was like a separate thing. It was like a really personal journey. So once you find it, you had to pick it up, peel it, chew it, suck the juice, and spit it out. After we did that, we set up a fire, and we sit down. It took a couple hours till the effect kicked in. And I thought at the moment that maybe it's not going to do anything for me. And I was having just a regular conversation with my friend when suddenly I turn and look at the fire and just kicks in. And it looks beautiful. It looks so beautiful. And I look up and I look at the stars, and I could see how everything is connected. And I can see how everything in myself is connected to each other. I can see everything expand and contract. I can see the stars dancing amongst them. It was beautiful. I woke up the next day, and the effect is gone. So that vision of me connected to everything, it was just like a dream. And at that moment, I thought about that book, Siddhartha. And I thought about how in this one chapter, Siddhartha goes to the forest and trains with people. And these people in the forest teaches him how to meditate, how to do out-of-body experiences, how to fast for long periods of time, and how to hold your breath for a really long period of time. And after he masters all those things, he then says to himself, what is meditation? What is out-of-the-body experiences? What is fasting? What is holding your breath for a really long time? It's nothing more but a short escape of the reality of being alive. And so he thought that it was just escape from real life, from being alive, and from the pain that is related to being alive. And so that's what I thought. I woke up from that amazing trip, and I thought to myself, I don't want temporary solutions. And so to me, there was nothing better than just getting drunk for one night. So no enlightenment that occasion. I go back home. I start focusing on my work again. I worked for a couple of years. I moved cities. I started doing filmmaking instead of photography. And then after I finished film school, once again, I found myself completely exhausted. And at that time, I was drained mentally, physically, spiritually. And once again, I thought, I need another trip. I need to focus on my spirituality once again. But this time, I want to do something different. And this thought kept popping in my head. It was like, be nothing so you can become everything. It was like, be nothing so you can become everything. So I had no idea what that meant. I just knew that I had to do something about it. And so what I decided to do is sold everything that I had. I gave away my clothes, and I flew to Spain to do the famous pilgrimage, Camino de Santiago. So in this pilgrimage, you walk from border to sea the entire country of Spain. I did that in over like 40 days. And during that time, it was an amazing experience. It really helped me heal emotionally a lot of baggage that I carried along the way. After I finished, I wasn't ready to come back home. I felt the need to be alone. And so I decided to stay in this cabin in Wales for a couple of months. And by that time, I knew exactly what be nothing so you can become everything meant to me. I felt like I didn't want to be a boyfriend, I didn't want to be a photographer, I didn't want to be a son, a brother, or anything else for a little bit. I just wanted to be myself. I thought that I had spent so much energy and time focused on trying to fulfill many, many roles, and I forgot about fulfilling the main role, which was myself. And so what I did is I spent 2 months in this cabin, and every day I would walk in the forest. I would walk for hours. I would meditate, I would pray, I would read, and I would chop wood. And every single day during those walks, I would tell myself, today is the day that you're going to attain enlightenment. And every time that I sat down to meditate, I would tell myself, today is going to be the day that you're going to attain enlightenment. And that day never came. I did not find enlightenment in that forest. What I did find was peace and contentment. It was really fascinating because for someone like me that is driven by achievements, the first time that I stopped pursuing something, it was the time that I felt the most fulfilled in my life. Because I realized that my worth as a human being, as a man, has nothing to do with my achievements. In that forest, I learned to love myself for who I was. It was really beautiful. I came back home, and I started working as a filmmaker, and then I started preparing for the biggest journey of my life so far. And my friends and I decided to ride our bicycles from Alaska to Argentina over the course of 21 months. Needless to say, that was the most challenging thing I have ever done. By the time we were in Peru, I had grown so much and changed so much that I couldn't remember who I was before I left. In Peru, we met a couple of shamans that were doing Ayahuasca ceremonies. Ayahuasca is this plant mixture, this drink, that shaman uses them to create healing emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. And so by that time, I thought, I was really curious because I had done peyote, like 7 years ago, and I had changed so much since then that I was curious about what was going to be the experience. So we did the ceremony. We sit down in a circle in a house. There was the shamans, and the other side, there was my team and I. They prepared the drink, and they told us that to drink it, and after 30 minutes, if we needed more, they were going to give us more. And so, like, how do I know if I need more? It's like, if you're wondering if you need more, you need more. So it's like, okay, so I have to be completely gone. So they give us a drink, they sit down, and they start playing music, acoustic music, because they say it was going to help us heal. That experience was completely different than my visions in Mexico. It was more personal. It was more inside. It was about me trying to understand who I was at the time and what I needed to change. I realized that along the way, I got too jaded because it was too hard. I forgot to enjoy the journey. I forgot to relax, to have fun. And by the time the ayahuasca was kicking in really deeply, I felt the music like it was melting me. And so I could feel the waves of sound going through my body, and parts of my body was just becoming part of the music. And slowly I kept feeling like I was rising, like I was floating, and I was trying to push it higher because I knew that was the time where I was going to attain enlightenment. And I was pushing it, and it was beautiful, and this joy came over me, and it was overwhelming, and then it happened. But not enlightenment. This question popped to my mind is, why are you such in a hurry to attain enlightenment? And the reality is that I had no idea. I had no reason why was I such in a hurry. And so at that moment I relaxed and I let the music melt the rest of me. By the time we finished the trip, I was completely exhausted, mentally. I couldn't focus, I couldn't think. I had been in survival mode for so long. And I knew I needed a break. I knew that I wanted to take a break before coming back home. And so I heard about a meditation retreat in Argentina that what you do is you meditate 10 hours a day for 10 days straight. And I thought that that was the best thing for me at the time. So Vipassana, what Vipassana does is it's about focusing on yourself. They say self-transformation through self-observation. So what you do is you sit down, you meditate, and you think about what do you feel here, 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 and you go back and forth through your entire body 10 hours a day. And they say that through that, it's helping you purify your mind and your body and your spirit. And so there was two things that you needed to learn from that practice. One, that everything's temporary, and two, that you should stay equanimous no matter what. Equanimity is a state of psychological stability no matter what experience or emotions you have. So the goal was for you to be able to understand that everything is temporary and that no matter what happens, you can stay psychologically stable. And so we would sit down and pain came and thoughts came and emotions came. And so if you had a good emotion or thought, you were supposed to not hold into it. If you had a bad thought or emotion, you were supposed to not push it away. So you just had to let things go through you and understand that it was temporary. I definitely feel like by day 6 that I was definitely moving something really deep inside of me. And I had this awful nightmare where I was having this crazy argument with someone, and I got so heated that I felt enraged, and I woke up crying because I've never felt that kind of anger inside of me before. And then in the middle of the day, I would have flashes of like anger and hate and darkness, and that has never happened to me before. So concerned, I go to the meditation guide, and I used to call him Mr. Miyagi. So I go, Mr. Miyagi, I feel like you open a door that you're not going to be able to close. I'm really concerned. And so he says to me, what are the 2 principles of Vipassana? Everything's temporary, and you should stay psychologically stable no matter what. And he said, go back to meditate. And sure enough, a couple days later, the flashes go away, and I started sleeping like a baby. And at the end of the 10 days, I was the same kind of peace and contentment that I found in Wells. It's been a year and a half since I did my meditation retreat, and since then, I spent a lot of time focusing and thinking about my spiritual path, what I've done along the way. I've traveled all over the world. I've done things to understand the universe, nature, the world, and myself better. I did peyote. I've been in the mountains in Wells. I've done ayahuasca. I've done meditation retreats. And after all that, all my experience, I decided to stop pursuing enlightenment. And just like Siddhartha, I was done of trying to pursue some mystical answer to just being able to deal with life today. So to me, I'm like a really pragmatic in how spirituality works for me, because I'd rather focus on trying to be more compassionate with myself and others today, and understand that even though we're going through some crazy times in nature, in politics, and things that are trying to divide us constantly, that it's up to me to stay stable no matter what, and that I have the decision. So because of that, I decided to stop pursuing enlightenment. Thank you.